Well, today we are going to learn about using factoring to solve quadratic equations. And really, it's going to be the same thing we've been doing, just with one extra step. So hopefully you're fairly comfortable with factoring. So looking at a problem like this, notice we have it set equal to 0. What you can do is just go ahead and factor it. So x squared, that's going to be x times x. And then 9 could be factored as 9 times 1. And we're looking for a positive 8. So if we have a positive 9 and a negative 1, that will make positive 8. So this is how this would factor down. So the additional step we have to take when we're actually solving. So we're trying to find out what x equals. And it's like this. Basically, if something times something equals 0, then that means that either the first thing could be 0 or the second thing could be 0 or both. So by setting the first factor equal to 0, we'll get one solution. So if I now subtract 9 from both sides, so that's going to give me x equals negative 9. And on the other hand, if I add 1 to both sides, so that is going to give me x equals 1. So notice that we have two solutions. Either one of these would make a true statement if I plug them back in. So in general, a quadratic equation, see this exponent? Alright, we say that this has degree 2 because that's the highest power. So in general, if you have a degree 2 polynomial, then you can have two solutions. Alright, every now and then you could have fewer, but usually there will be two, and there will never be more. Anyway, so with that in mind, let's just keep going. It's just kind of the same thing. I feel like I should switch colors a bit. Alright, so on this one, as I factor it, alright, that's going to be y and y. And 18, when I look at 18, I'm thinking, okay, it could be 2 times 9, it could be 3 times 6. Okay, but I'm liking the 3 and 6 because I'm seeing the 3 in the middle. And I know that 6 minus 3 is 3. So let's do the 3 times 6 option. Now specifically, I need a negative 3 here. So you know how I'm always doing the inner and the outer equals the middle? Alright, so inner, I have 3y, right? Outer, I have 6y. And I'm trying to get a middle of negative 3y. So this is what I'm really doing. And so if I have a positive 3 and a negative 6, that's going to give me negative 3y that I need. So there's my positive 3 and my negative 6. Okay, when there's no number in front, I usually don't show this inner, outer, middle thing, but I just wanted to do it one time to show you what's really happening. Anyway, like I said before, once you factor it, the idea is you can get your solutions by setting these equal to 0. So y plus 3 equals 0, y minus 6 equals 0. Either one of these can give me a solution. Subtracting 3 from both sides gives me y equals negative 3. Adding 6 to both sides gives me y equals 6. So these are our two solutions for number 2. Okay. Alright, look at number 3. Here's the one thing I would caution you on. I'm not liking the order of these terms. I really would rather that we wrote these in standard form where we have the squared term and then the single variable and then the constant. Alright, using our vocabulary, we would call this the quadratic term because of the 2. and this would be the linear term, and then this would be the constant term. So I really want it to be in that order. So let's put our quadratic term first. So I'll have n squared. Our linear term will stay in the middle, and our constant term will be last. So we'll have this. Now we can go ahead and do what we do. You know. So n squared, that's n times n. Looking at that 32, all right, the possibilities for 32 are, it could be 4 times 8. It's the first thing that comes into my mind. And you know, there's other things that make 32 as well, but I'm really liking the 4 times 8, the first thing that came to my mind, because 8 plus 4 is 12, and there's that 12 right there. So let's go ahead and go with the 4 and the 8. Notice how everything is positive, so you pretty much know this has to be positive. It's the only way it's going to work. But sure enough, positive 4n, positive 8, that would make positive 12. Okay, you know what, I got to check on something. All right, so boom, there you go. And then you can find your solutions, again, by setting these equal to 0. So n plus 4 equals 0, n plus 8 equals 0. Minus 4, minus 8. So this is going to give us n equals negative 4. And this side will have n equals negative 8. So these are the two solutions for number 3. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Now, in order to use this, what we're doing is called the zero product property, and that's where we know that if something times something equals 0, then either the first factor is 0 or the second factor is 0, or both. That's called the zero product property. And in order to make that happen, we really need 0 over here. So on this one, we will have the extra step of subtracting 54 from both sides. So I would just do that if I were you. So minus 54 minus 54. So when you rewrite this, you're going to have x squared plus 3x minus 54 equals 0. All right, just put these next to each other. Now let's go ahead and factor it. X squared is x times x. All right, 54, first thing that comes to my mind is 6 times 9. All right, and that's looking good because 9 minus 6 is 3. So let's go ahead and go with that. There are other ways to make 54, but this is looking so good, why go any further? So we need a positive 3. So if I have a negative 6 and a positive 9, that would make positive 3. Okay, and a negative times a positive is a negative. So that is the correct factorization. Using the zero product property gives us x minus 6 equals 0 and x plus 9 equals 0. Okay, so we could add 6 to both sides, subtract 9 from both sides. So that's going to give us over here x equals 6, and on the right hand side x equals negative 9. So those are the two solutions for number 4. Similarly, number 5. Oh wait, I want to switch to blue. Let us subtract 13a from both sides. Now notice this is the linear term, so it goes in the middle. It has that a on it. So let's subtract 13a from both sides, and just keep in mind it'll go in the middle. So this will be a squared minus 13a plus 42. Alright, always give me this standard form. Equals 0. And now we can factor from there. Okay, so a squared, that's going to be a times a. 42. First thing that pops into my mind when I see 42 is that 6 times 7 is 42. Alright, there are other ways to make 42, but I'm liking 6 times 7 because 7 plus 6 is 13. So that's looking pretty good. Now, if I want a negative 13, I'm going to need negative 6 and negative 7. All right, and again, I'm thinking about inner and outer when I say that. All right, putting these two together, that will make negative 13. So hopefully the signs work out. Negative times a negative is a positive, so that's a win. Zero product property time, so a minus 6 equals 0, a minus 7 equals 0. Adding 6 to both sides, adding 7 to both sides. So that'll give me a equals 6 or a equals 7. So these are the two solutions for number 5. Alright, let me just pause for one quick second to point out sometimes when we learn something new, my students have trouble keeping straight. When do we do this new thing? Alright, in the past, we've just factored and we've stopped right here. Okay, we just factored and we stopped, and that was the answer. Suddenly now I'm asking you to set these two factors equal to 0 and get, a variable equals a number. Get these two solutions. So what happens is I will sometimes have students that stop. They factor and stop when they should keep going. And then other times I'll have students keep going, setting things equal to 0 and getting the variable by itself when they should have stopped. So my question to you is, how do I know when to do this new thing? How do I know when to keep going and find the actual answer, as opposed to how do I know when to just factor and leave it at that? The key is in the directions, all right, and it's really this key word right here, solve. Solving means finding the actual value of the variable, like x equals 7 or something like that. That's what solve means. So if it says solve, that means we're not just going to factor, all right? We haven't solved anything until we get all the way down to x equals a number. Okay, so if the directions say solve, that's how you know don't stop, keep going all the way. On the other hand, if the directions simply said factor, all right, if the directions just said factor, that's when we would stop right here. This is factored. Okay, but there's one other way that you're also going to know. Look at all of these equations. Okay, now I'm saying equations because I have something equals something. Notice the equal sign. These are all equations. We solve equations. On the other hand, look at one of the previous lessons. All right, notice, if you look at the directions, it says factor each polynomial completely. It does not say solve. And that partially explains why we're just factoring and we're not setting anything equal to 0. All right, we're not finding c equals 9 or c equals negative 9. But also, these are not equations. All right, you're only going to solve equations. These are just expressions. There's no equal sign. There's no equal 0. There's no equal anything. All right, so that's another thing that's going to tell you that we're just going to factor and stop when there is no equation. There's no equal sign. Okay? So on the other hand, when you look at these problems, you see the equal sign. That should be a signal to you that we're going to keep going until we get c equals a number. All right, just wanted to emphasize that because that is a common mistake. Back to work. Let's subtract 2c from both sides. We need 0 over here. So minus 2c minus 2c. Notice how I line these up. No, these are going to be gone. So that's going to give me c squared minus, now putting these together, that's going to be 11c plus 18 equals 0. So we will go ahead and factor this. So c squared is c times c. 18, there's a couple ways to get 18. There's 3 times 6, and there's 2 times 9, and of course there's even 1 times 18. But looking at the middle of negative 11, which one of these do you think I'm going to use? Alright, I hope you said we're going to use that 2 and the 9, because 9 plus 2 is 11. So let's go with the 2 and the 9. Now to make negative 11, we need a negative 2 and a negative 9 to make negative 11. And it works out because a negative times negative is positive 18. Okay, so keep going. Zero product property. Set these equal to 0. Here I'm going to wind up adding 2, and here I will add 9. So that's going to give me c equals 2, and here I'll have c equals 9. So these will be the 2 answers for number 6. Okay, take a look at number 7. Alright, I need to get this over to the other side. So let's go ahead and add 220 to both sides. Okay, that's kind of a big number. So this is going to give us w squared plus 32w plus 220 is equal to 0. Okay, this is a big number, but sometimes we get lucky. I'm hoping when you look at this and you ask yourself, man, how do we factor that? I'm hoping that the first thing that pops into your head is, because you see that 0 on the end, this should be 10 times 22. Alright? You might not know much about what times what makes 220, but you know, the two things that would pop into my head would be 10 times 22, and the other thing I would look at is, I see that's even, so it would be 2 times something, right? So that would be 2 times 110 would make 220. These are the two things that should just occur to you. Now, which one of these can make 32? Well, 22 plus 10 is 32. So you should be thinking, probably going to use the 10 and 22. Alright, let's go on and check it out. So as we factor, alright, so w squared, there's my w times w. Here comes my 10 and 22. Everything's positive, so plus, plus. Yes, positive 10 and positive 22 make 32. And positive times positive is positive. So there we go, we factored it. Alright, big scary number, didn't turn out to be that bad. Zero product property. W plus 10 equals 0. W plus 22 equals 0. Man, my voice is getting a little scratchy. See, I have not been getting enough sleep lately, you guys. See, look what you made me do. You know I can't write and talk at the same time. Why are you distracting me like that? I have not been getting enough sleep, guys, and it's showing in my voice, even though I feel good. So that's going to give me y equals negative 22. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go make some tea, because when your throat is sore and your voice is scratchy, drinking warm fluids is soothing to your throat, and it helps your voice. So if you're a singer, it's something to keep in mind. Drink something warm. You want to stay away from milk-based products because those coat your throat, and so that doesn't actually help very much. Also, caffeine, it's something I learned. Okay, let's add 4 to both sides. Notice how I line these up. I need to move this over, but I know it is the constant term, so I'm going to line up those constant terms. So that's going to give me d squared minus 2d. And this is going to be negative 15 if I put those together, equals 0. I don't know if you guys knew this, but caffeine hurts your throat. It's bad for your voice. So if you're a singer, you should stay away from caffeine as much as possible. Now for me, I mean, I'm not a singer, but I talk a lot as a teacher. And so I need my voice to be as healthy as possible. 15, the first thing that pops into my head is 3 times 5. And 5 minus 3 makes 2, so this is looking good. If I have a positive 3 and a negative 5, that'll make negative 2, so this is looking good. Okay, so stay away from the caffeine. Set these equal to 0, so this is my zero product property. Kabam. Alright, having a lot of sugar is not good for you either, so it's not good for your voice. You know, even honey. Some people put honey in their tea or something like that, but that can coat your throat as well. So I use stevia, you know, stevia, 0 calories. So kabam, this is these are the two solutions that you would get from this problem. All right, which one was that we just did? That was number 8. Number 8. All right, so I'm gonna pause here and go get my tea. I'm gonna let you know which flavor it is when I come back. You know what? I decided to go with cherry tea. Having cherry tea. When your throat is hurting, or you have a sore throat, or your voice is scratchy, so your 2x squared would only be 2x and x. You don't want the fluid to be hot, because that's not good for your voice either. Looking at the 35, alright, really only one main thing pops into my head, and that is 5 times 7 makes 35. Obviously it could be 1 and 35, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. So it could be 5 and 7, or it could be 7 and 5. So let's just try the 5 and 7. Alright, don't do this in pen, because you have to be prepared to make some changes. Now, I'm going to go back to doing my inner plus outer equals middle thing for this problem, because of this coefficient of 2. Alright, when there's a number in the front, I can't just look at the 5 and the 7 and go, oh, does it make 9? Can it make 9? Oh no, it doesn't make 9. What do I do? Oh no. I have no business looking at the 9 and trying to get that out of just 5 and 7. That only works when there's a leading coefficient of 1, when there's no visible number in front. If there's something here, like a 2, I really have to do the inner plus outer equals middle analysis. So inner, I have 5x. Okay, outer, 2 times 7, I have 14x. Okay, I am trying to get negative 9x. So the question is, can I get negative 9 if I pick the signs right? And luckily for me, the answer is yes. Let's see, I need the negatives to win, so I'm going to make the bigger number negative and the smaller number positives. So the negatives will win by 9. Alright, and then I translate that into this. There's my positive 5, and this, if I make the 7 negative, then that will make my negative 14. I must check one last thing. Does positive 5 times negative 7 give me negative 35? And of course it does. Okay, so that's how you do that. But now it's time to go ahead and do my zero product property. Alright, should I erase this or keep it around? How much space do I have? I have space. I'm going to keep it hanging around. So I'm going to go ahead and do my zero product property thing now. Okay, so 2x plus 5 equals 0, and x minus 7 equals 0. This is how I will get my two solutions. So if I subtract 5 from both sides, that'll give me 2x equals negative 5. If I then divide everything by 2, like this, then I will get my final answer. So I will get x equals negative 5 over 2. So this is one of my two answers. Meanwhile, over here, I will add 7 to both sides. So that's going to give me x equals 7. Alright, so that's it. So these are my two answers, negative 5 over 2 and 7. Okay, so that was number 9. Okay, here comes number 10. Let's see. Let's go ahead and go for the factorization. I was doing a quick check to make sure there are no common factors, right? Remember to keep an eye out for that. Every once in a while, you'll have a GCF that has to come out. But that didn't happen today. Looking at that 7, 7's a prime number, so that can only be 7y times y. 3 is a prime number, so that can only be 1 times 3. But it'll either be 1 and 3, or it'll be 3 and 1. Okay? Obviously, here again, I can't just go, oh, 1 and 3. I can't make 10 out of it, so it's prime. No, that's not the way it works. Okay? There's a coefficient here. The coefficient is not 1. So I need to do my inner, outer, middle analysis. Okay. I think I'll do this. Alright, so inner, I have 1y. Outer, I have 21y. I'm trying to get negative 10y. So that's a fail. There's no way to get negative 10 out of this. So, you know, before I give up and quit, let's try it the other way, 3 and 1. If I do it this way, all right, that's going to change my inner, outer, middle bees nas. So inner, now I have 3y. Outer, I have 7y. This is looking good. If I had a negative 3 and a negative 7, that would indeed make negative 10. You know what? I really wanted to make those green. If I have a negative 3 and a negative 7, that will make negative 10. So there's my negative 3, and this will make my negative 7. One last thing, a negative times a negative is a positive. So yay, it works. Time to do the zero product property. Okay, alright. So zero product property, so 7y minus 3 equals 0, and y minus 1 equals 0. If I add 3 to both sides, that's going to give me 7y equals 3. If I then divide by 7, that's going to give me y equals 3 over 7. So that's one of my answers. Meanwhile, if I add 1 to both sides over here, that's just going to immediately give me y equals 1. So this is the other answer. Okay, what else you got? Bring it. Okay, number 11. Okay, this looked like some kind of strange combo, but yeah, it stops right there. This is like number 12. Alright, so good. So this over here is ready to go. So let's just go ahead and factor it. 3b can only be 3b times b. 11 is either going to be 1 times 11 or, 11 and 1. So say if I do 1 times 11, Then inner, I have 1b. Outer, I have 33b. I'm trying to get positive 34b. Well, this is looking awesome, right? If the signs were positive and positive, that would in fact make 34. So positive and positive. Also, 1 times 11 is a positive 11. So that works out great. So let's go ahead and do the zero product property like you do. So 3b plus 1 equals 0, and b plus 11 equals 0. Okay, we'll keep going. If I subtract 1 from both sides, that's going to give me 3b equals negative 1. If I then divide both sides by 3, like so, that's going to give me b equals negative 1/3. So that is one of my answers. Meanwhile, if I subtract 11 from both sides, I'm going to get b equals negative 11. So that is my other answer. Okay, I think I'm going to pause there and go join my colleagues for lunch. So it is lunchtime. You know, I don't really have a lunch today. I think I'm going to have a big cup of V8 juice and a protein shake. That's going to be my lunch today. Except for, you know what I just remembered? Somebody brought in a cake because it's Miss Mayhew's birthday yesterday. So there's some chocolate cake, some kind of cream icing. So you know what? That's going to be part of my lunch. So, to be continued. Alright, I'm back, people. So, let's see. We need to make sure I'm doing the right color. Yeah. This 18 needs to be over there, so let's go ahead and subtract 18 from both sides like this. So that is going to give us 6x squared minus 23x minus 18 equals 0. Alright, and we'll factor it from there. Alright. Okay, now, you know, we really got to be careful with this because we have multiple options. So 18, that's either going to be 3 times 6, or it's going to be 2 times 9, or it's going to be 1 times 18. Okay, so those are the options happening with the 18. Meanwhile, the 6 is either going to be 2 times 3, or it's going to be 1 times 6. Alright, so those are the possibilities, man. Lots of possibilities to play with. Alright, with the 6, I'm going to start with 2 times 3. Alright, I always start with the numbers that are closer together. So I'm going to start with 2x and 3x. Okay. Now, similarly, alright, normally I would start with 3 times 6. But remember, I taught you guys that there should be no GCF. Man, my colleagues are loud. There should be no common factor within the parentheses. If there's no common factor in the original problem, there should be no common factor in the parentheses. Now, if I do the 3, 6, if I put the 3 and the 6 here, well, I've got a GCF between the 3 and the 6. But even if I switch it around the other way and go 6, 3, well, that's even worse. All right, now I still have a GCF over here, but now I have a GCF over here too. So that tells me that if it's going to be 2 times 3, then 3 times 6 is not working. So for now, I'm going to cross it out. All right, If none of them work, then I'll come back and start over with 1 times 6. But for now, I'm crossing that out. So let's move on to 2 and 9. Alright, do you think I'm going to try 2, 9 or 9, 2? Yeah, I'm definitely going to go with 9, 2. If I did it the other way, if I did 2, 9, there'd be a GCF. I guess I should show you. If I had done 2, 9 instead, there would have been a GCF, common factor, here and here. So don't waste your time, because that's not going to be it. So now let's do our inner, outer, middle thing. Okay, inner, we have, okay, because 9 times 3 is 27. So we have 27x. Outer, we have 4. So 4x. Okay? And we're shooting for a middle of negative 23x. Well, this is actually looking good. If we had a negative 27 and a positive 4, that would give us negative 23. Alright? The negatives would win by 23. So this is looking good. The negative 27 would happen if this were negative, alright? And the positive 4 comes from the outer here, so if this were positive, that would happen. So we always have to check to make sure we're really getting negative 18. And sure enough, negative 9 times positive 2 is negative 18. So we lucked out. That was pretty quick. I mean, I say we lucked out, but if you follow my techniques, you're going to get lucky often. Alright, so let's go ahead and do our zero product property now. Okay, so if I do 2x minus 9 equals 0 and 3x plus 2 equals 0, I will get my two solutions. So on this one, I will have to add 9 to both sides, so that'll give me 2x equals 9, and then I'll divide by 2 on both sides, so that's going to give me x equals 9 over 2. Guys, go ahead and leave it as a fraction. I don't need any decimals. So that would be that one. Meanwhile, over here, if I subtract 2 from both sides, then I have 3x equals negative 2. And then I can go ahead and divide both sides by 3. And that's going to give me x is equal to negative 2 over 3. So those would be my two solutions, my friends. So that's number 12. Alright? Alright, let's keep going. Here comes number 13. Alright, we need these terms over here. So I am going to add 2a to both sides. And similarly, I am going to subtract 8 from both sides. Okay, I can do both of those right now. So that's going to give me 10a squared. Alright, putting those together, that'll be plus 3a minus 18 is equal to 0. No GCF. So let's go ahead and factor. Alright, but let's slow down and be careful. So 10 could either be 2 times 5 or 1 times 10. Those are the possibilities. Alright, meanwhile 18 could either be 3 times 6 or 2 times 9 or 1 times 18. So again, we have a lot of these possibilities. I always start with the ones that are closer together, and then I work my way up the list from there. You know what, I recommend you do the same. So let's start with 2a and 5a. Alright, because 2 times 5. Okay, and again, starting from the bottom, I'm going to do 3 and 6. Again, notice I'm not going to waste my time with 6 and 3. Alright, I won't try it because that would create a GCF, and that should not happen. If the original problem had no GCF, there should be no GCF here. So don't waste your time on that. So just only try 3 and 6. If this doesn't work, cross it out. Now let's do our inner plus outer equals middle. Inner, we have 15a. Okay? By the way, notice that I'm not just going, oh, the 3 and the 6, and that makes 3. That's not why I picked the 3 and the 6. That's a coincidence. Outer, 2 times 6 is 12. And I'm trying to get positive 3a. Well, you know what? This is looking promising, because if I make this positive and this negative, 15 minus 12 is 3. So that would work out. This positive comes from the inner ones. This negative came from the outer ones. So that would be the signs. And positive times negative is negative. Alright, lucky again. First one I picked turned out to be right. Okay, be like me. Get on my level. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and do my zero product property. So I will have 2a plus 3 equals 0 and 5a minus 6 equals 0. Subtracting 3 from both sides, adding 6 to both sides is going to give me 2a equals negative 3, or 5a is equal to 6. If I then divide both sides by 2 here, and on this one I would divide by 5, that's going to give me my final answer. So I'll have a equals negative 3 over 2, and I will have a is equal to 6 over 5. So these are my final answers. Alright, that's it. So that was number 13. Let's look at number 14. Alright, this 11 needs to get over here. So I'm going to add 11 to both sides like that. So that's going to give me 8c squared minus 34. This should have been the same letter. Can I change it right now? It's going to give me an error message. Okay, so that was a typo, people. Sorry about that. Didn't catch it. It should be all C's. All better. All better. So what was I doing? Yeah, so minus 34C and then plus 35 is equal to 0. Now we are ready to go. Any common factors? No. So let's go ahead and factor it out. Now, keeping in mind that 8 is either going to be 2 times 4 or 1 times 8. 35 is either going to be 5 times 7 or 1 times 35. So I'm going to start with 2 and 4 because I always start with the smaller number. So if I start with 2 and 4, that's going to be 2c 2c times 4c. Okay, and I will start with the 5 and the 7. So that would be 5 and 7. Inner, I have 20. Alright, so 20C. Outer, I have 14. So 14C. Am I getting lucky again? Guys, you gotta follow my methods because they're working like crazy. We're trying to get a negative 34C. So negative 34C. And you know what? That will work out. Looking good. If I have a negative 20 and a negative 14, together that would make negative 34. That would make this negative and this negative. Furthermore, a negative times negative is a positive, so it works out. Alright, so we factored it. Time for the zero product property. I guess I scrolled too far down. Okay, so we will do 2C minus 5 equals 0, and 4C minus 7 equals 0. So if I add 5 to both sides and add 7 to both sides, that's going to give me 2C is equal to 5 and 4C is equal to 7. Then when I divide both sides by 2, divide by 2, and over here I'll divide by 4, that is going to give me C is equal to 5 over 2. And over here, that's going to give me C is equal to 7 over 4. So these would be the two answers for number 14. Alrighty then. This negative 24 needs to come over here. So to that end, I will add 24 to both sides. So that is going to give me 2x squared plus 19x plus 24 is equal to 0. No common factors, so I will go ahead and factor. So 2x squared is 2x and x. That's the only way. Now, looking at the 24, it's either going to be 4 times 6, or 3 times 8, or 2 times 12, or 1 times 24. Okay, 24 has a lot of factors to it. So, you know, normally I just start from the bottom, the two closest together. But whether I do 4, 6 or 6, 4, either way, that would create a GCF. And since there's no GCF in the original problem, there should be no GCF here. So I can eliminate 4 times 6 as an option. So now that brings me to 3 and 8. And I will definitely do 3, 8, and not 8, 3. Because putting an 8 here would make a GCF again. So I will go with 3, 8. Let's see how that works out for me. Inner, I have 3x. Outer, I have 16x. Oh, look at that. The middle, I'm shooting for a positive 19x. You see why I'm happy. This is looking very promising. If I make this a positive 3 and a positive 16, that will make positive 19. So there's my positive 3. This will make my positive 16. Also, positive 3 times positive 8 does make positive 24. So this is the correct factorization. Thanks to skipping the ones that cause a GCF, we got there almost immediately. So Follow my strategies, people. Alright, time for the zero product property. So 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. X plus 8 is equal to 0. Minus 3 minus 8. So 2x is equal to negative 3. And x is equal to negative 8. Well, you know what? That is one of the answers right there. X is already by itself. On this side, we will have to go ahead and divide by 2 to get our final answer. So we will have x equals negative 3 over 2. Okay? Alright, so that was number 15. Alright, let's take a look at number 16. Wow, this is a long problem. Okay, it goes all the way over there. Alright, we need to get all this stuff over to the left. We need 0 over here. So what are we going to do about it, people? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do about it. Let us subtract 67 from both sides. Okay, line up those like terms, guys. And similarly, let's subtract 30 from both sides. Alright, let's see what we've got so far. Okay, so that is going to give us, so I've got my 18x squared minus 97, man, it's big numbers, x minus 130 equals 0. Okay, I'm really not liking these numbers, man. And I do not think there's a common factor happening. But let's just follow through. Let's use the Burton methods and see if we can get lucky one more time. Okay, looking at the 18, the possibilities are it's either going to be 3 times 6, or it's going to be 2 times 9, or it's going to be 1 times 18. Those are the 3 ways of getting 18. Now, I'm hoping it's just going to be 13 times 10, or 10 times 13. Because off the top of my head, I mean, I know there's also going to be a 2 times, let's see, 65, I think. But when I see a 0 on the end, the first thing I think is times 10. So if we're lucky, this will be it. So let's give it a shot. All right. So as we begin to factor, okay. So 18, we decided to go with 3x and 6x to start off with. Okay. And then we decided to go with 10 and 13. So this would be 10 and 13. Notice that I wouldn't have put the 10 over here, no matter what, because that would have made a GCF. Let's see if we get lucky. Inner, we have 60x. Outer, okay, 3 times 13 is 39. So that's going to be 39. We are not getting lucky. We're close. Okay, let me just follow through. So if I added these up, I'm trying to get negative 97. Okay, the middle is negative 97. And the way it is, if I made both these negative, it would make negative 99, which is really, really, really close. But no, that's not it. So we have to try something else. So for right now, I'm going to cross out the 3 and the 6. Alright, and I'm going to go back and try the 2 and the 9. And I'm really hoping that this is going to work out this time, because I don't like these numbers at all. Alright, so going back to the drawing board. So 2 and 9. So we'll go with 2x and 9x. Alright, I'm going to stick with 10 and 13 for now. Oh, I'm not. Ha! The 10 and the 2, that's a common factor. Okay, so no. That's a no. I'm still going to stick with the 10 and 13, but I will switch those around. So I'll put the 13 here, and I'll put the 10 here. Now, 9 times 13, everybody knows what that is. Okay, of course, it is 117. I mean, who doesn't know that? So I will have 117. And then 2 times 10 is 20. Okay? Now, I'm trying to get negative 97. What would happen if we did, I mean, obviously we need the negatives to win. So what would happen if we did negative 117 and positive 20? What would happen then? Alright, just in case you lack in imagination. Alright, if I had negative 117 plus 20, oh, would you look at that? Negative 97. Exactly what the doctor ordered. Okay, so negative here would make my negative 117. Positive here would make my positive 20. And a negative times a positive is a negative, so the signs work out. So that wasn't too bad. Alright, we didn't get it on the first try, but we got it on the second try. So that's still not too bad using the old Burton method here. So let's go ahead and finish the problem. Now it's time for the zero product property. So we know if we have 2x minus 13 equals 0, that will give us one solution, or x plus 10 equals 0 will give us the other. Right? Adding 13 to both sides gives us 2x equals 13. Subtracting 10, and we have 9x is equal to negative 10. Well, then we would divide both sides by 2, wouldn't we? And might as well do this while I've got the orange out, because I would divide both sides by 9. Okay, so dividing by 2, so that'll give me x equals 13 over 2. And this will give me x equals negative 10 over 9. Alright, these are some ugly answers, but they are, in fact, the answers. What are you going to do? Sometimes the answers are ugly. Alright, let us move forward, and let's do number 17. Alright, I've been on the lookout for a common factor right at the beginning, and I finally see one. Both of these are divisible by 2. So please remember that the first step of factoring will always be to pull out the common factor. So if I pull out that 2, that's going to leave me with x squared minus 36. Hopefully you recognize this as the difference of two squares. So I'm going to have 2, and then I continue to factor this as x plus 6, x minus 6. Okay, now comes the zero product property. For the first time we have 3 factors instead of just 2. Okay, so here's the deal. Normally we would set all 3 of these factors equal to 0. Alright, I feel like I need more space, but you know, obviously I'm going to do x plus 6 equals 0, and I'm going to do x minus 6 equals 0. Normally, if this were a term like x or x plus 3, I would set this equal to 0 too. But this is not a variable expression. This is a constant. So, you can't set 2 equal to 0. 2 does not equal 0. It just doesn't make any sense. So we're not going to do that. The constant cannot equal 0. That means the other two are the only two that could equal 0. So if you're getting 0 for an answer, something has to be 0. It's not this one. So that still means that either this one equals 0 or this one could be 0. So you basically ignore the 2. It doesn't go anywhere, but we don't need it anymore in order to find the answers. So we will ignore the 2 and go forward, subtracting 6 from both sides, and we'll get x equals negative 6. Alright? Of course, we add 6 to both sides, and we get x equals positive 6. So these are the two solutions. But Mr. Burton, what happened to the 2? Do we cancel it out, or? No, we just don't need it. We don't use it. Alright? If I told you 2 times something is equal to 0, you would say, could you tell me what x is? Yeah, you would say x is equal to 0. Alright? 2 times 0 is 0. It has to be 0. That's all we're doing. Oh, that wasn't an eraser. Anyway, let's move on. Number 18. Alright, these are all even. So at the very least, they are all divisible by, they're all divisible by 2. So let's do that and see what happens. So if I divide everything by 2, that's going to give me 25x squared plus 30x plus 9. Now, are there any common factors now, or is that it? Alright, there are no common factors now, so that means I can just keep going. So there's my 2, and I'm going to just keep factoring this more. Got to keep going. Okay, so 25. It's probably going to be 5 times 5. Okay, if this does not work out, I will have to go back and try 25 and 1, because technically those are the options. Okay, this 25, let me just be thorough. It's either going to be 5 times 5, or it's going to be 1 times 25. Looking at the 9, it's either going to be 3 times 3, or 1 times 9. So I'm going to start with a 5 and 5, and I'm going to start with the 3 and 3. Alright, let's see what we get. Inside, we have 15x. Outside, we have another 15x. We are trying to get 30. Alright, forget about the 60, we're here now. So we're trying to get 30x. Okay, and specifically a positive 30x. And this is looking great. I'm really happy about this. Because if I have a positive 15 and another positive 15, that would make 30. So plus plus. And positive 3 times positive 3 is 9. So boom. Burton method working quickly once again. So we factored it. Time for the zero product property. Okay. Again, we're going to ignore the 2. 2 cannot equal 0. That means 5x plus 3 could equal 0. Or you know what? I don't need to write this twice. There's no point in solving both of these twice. It's the same equation. We're going to get the same answer, and we're just only going to write it once. So we're only going to get one solution this time. So when we subtract 3 from both sides, we get 5x equals negative 3. And when we divide by 5, then we get x equals negative 3/5. So this is the one and only answer. If we had tried to solve this, we would just get this again, so there's no point. So, and don't write it twice. That looks silly, okay? It shows that you don't know what you're doing. All right, x equals negative 3/5, x equals negative 3/5. That's redundant. Don't do that. All right, are we done yet? I think there's another 3 problems or more. Man, this is a long assignment. Okay, I really should have thought this through. You know, because the more homework I give you guys, the more homework I give myself, right? So, at least you can be happy that Burton had to do a lot of work. I'm going to see if I can go any faster, though. This is going to factor, this is the difference of 2 squares. So 5y plus 2, 5y minus 2. Okay, zero product property. All right, 5y plus 2 equals 0, 5y minus 2 equals 0. Okay, so that's going to give me 5y equals negative 2. And 5y equals positive 2. So when I divide by 5 on both sides, and again, alright, that is going to give me y equals negative 2/5. And over here I have y is equal to positive 2/5. Okay, so that is the answer to number 19. How about number 20? Oh, I see a GCF. All of these are divisible by 4. Just use blue. Okay, time for purple. I'm going to divide everything by 4. Pull out the common factor. Okay, so that's going to make b squared minus 10b plus 25. I just divided everything by 4. Okay, now I'm ready to factor. So I've got my 4. Alright, that's going to be b. 25, I'm betting, is 5 and 5. If I do negative 5 and negative 5, that will make negative 10, and a negative times negative is positive. Time for the zero product property. 4 cannot equal 0, so ignore it. B minus 5 could equal 0, and this is the same, so I'm not going to duplicate it. Adding 5 to both sides gives me b equals 5. So this is only one solution. Alright, looking at number 21. No GCF. Okay, kind of a big number there. We'll see what happens. D. 100. Alright, first guess is 10 times 10. And I'm seeing the 20, so minus 10 would make negative 20. And negative times negative is positive 100. Zero product property. So d minus 10 equals 0. And this is the same. So that'll be plus 10 plus 10. So that will give me d is equal to 10. That is the one and only answer. Okay. Let me see if I can do these problems like super fast. The bell just rang. Let's see, can I do it fast? This is probably going to be 2r times 2r. This is probably going to be 3 times 3. Okay, that would make 6r inner and 6r outer. That will make 12r, which is what I want, plus. Okay, zero product property. If I do 2r plus 3 equals 0, same. That will give me 2r equals negative 3, and r equals negative 3 over 2. Okay, I apologize for the speed, but it might be you that's waiting for me at the door of my classroom. So this one, And I'm so close to being done. 169 is 13 times 13. So it's 13 plus x, 13 minus x. Zero product property, 13 plus x equals 0, 13 minus x equals 0. Subtracting 13 gives me x equals negative 13. Adding x to both sides gives me 13 equals x. Okay, last one. Oh no, GCF. Both of these are divisible by 3. Dividing by 3 gives me 9 minus 4x squared equals 0. This is the difference of two squares. So that'll be 3 plus 2x, 3 minus 2x. Zero product property. Alright, ignore the 3, that can't equal 0. So 3 plus 2x equals 0, or 3 minus 2x equals 0. Subtracting 3, so 2x equals negative 3, divide, we get x equals negative 3 over 2. Over here, subtract 3, so negative 2x is equal to negative 3, divide by negative 2, so x is equal to positive 3 over 2. And we're done. Gotta run.